this weekend. I watched part of the Boston-Tampa series. I was at the Jays game on Friday. I had the iPad up. I was watching the whole stuff with David Price and David Ortiz. And there were things that the cameras caught that a big deal really wasn't made of. I think it was Mike Carp. I could be wrong. There was somebody who tried to take out Yunel Escobar on a force at second base, an inning-ending force at second base. Spikes up. There was a real tone to that series that suggested there was a tremendous amount of dislike. Now, I know that Nesson ran a poll, pardon me, during the game that sort of suggested that in the minds of Red Sox fans, the Tampa Bay Rays were kind of overtaking the Yankees as Red Sox rivals. So we'll ask Rob Bradford of WEEI in Boston if that's in fact the case. Rob Bradford joining Kevin Barker and Jeff Blair on Baseball Central. Hello, Rob.
Hi, fellas. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me take some water. I'm losing my voice here. So is it true? Is it true that the Tampa Bay Rays are the Red Sox new rivals?
I would agree with that. I think that this is a legitimate rivalry. This isn't one of these fake TV-produced, put it on the bumper stickers type of rivalries, and that's really how the Yankees rivalry has been for a while, I guess, since the Veritek A-Rod thing. I mean, this is legit, where you have a bench-clearing brawl almost every single series. This is not pretend that these two teams don't like each other. And the amazing thing, guys, about it is that we've had a lot of turnover. The only turnover that really hasn't happened is Joe Madden in a manager's seat. But I think it's absolutely awesome because you just don't see legitimate rivalries in baseball a whole lot where teams legitimately don't like each other.
I have to ask, with the starting rotation banged up with the Red Sox the way it is, Jake Peavy, I think, is going to be the key to all this, and he's been struggling. What are you seeing with Jake Peavy?
He was up and down. Last start, actually, he had a lot of difficulties with his eyesight. You guys probably know that he's legally blind. He has a very, very difficult time seeing, and he had probably the most difficult time seeing the signals from David Ross that he had since he's been joining the Red Sox. But I think that he's just been up and down in terms of his command. This is a guy who came to the Red Sox with a pretty good track record of having good command, and when he's gone bad, he's seen quite a few walks. Now, he changed his arm angle at the end of last year because he thought he could get back to that San Diego arm angle when he was so good. And at the beginning of the year, it really did translate. He was very good. But, he had a little bit of a bump in the road. I still think that he is a guy that they don't mind throwing out there. He's been pretty consistent other than the two starts prior to this last one. I don't think he's their biggest concern right now, but I agree. I think that he can be a key part of this whole deal, especially with Buckles out.
Well, with that being said, can you see the Red Sox making changes soon?
It's hard to make changes with this time of year. You guys know this. Making a trade this time of year is very, very difficult. If they could have done that, if it was easy this time of year, you go on a 10-game losing streak, you're making a trade. But it's so difficult. And right now, they've got an influx from Stephen Drew playing shortstop. They got an influx from some young pitchers. Brandon Workman came up. Ruby De La Rosa pitched really well the other day. So they have some internal answers. I think the biggest question that really has to be asked right now about this team is, can they hit? I think they need a bat. And I know that David Ortiz was lobbying for Nelson Cruz in the offseason, and right now that looks like a pretty good thing to be lobbying for other than this brief injury.
Now, Stephen Drew did make his return on Monday. Last night he batted eighth. He played shortstop in a 3-2 loss that snapped the Red Sox win streak at 7. How did he look to you? How close is he to being 100% or being up to speed? And is there a chance, do you think, that the Red Sox look at another Boris client as well in Kendry Morales, because you now hear that the Yankees are snooping around him?
Yeah, it's a good question. First off, with Drew, I thought he looked good. I thought defensively, you were reminded how good he is, how smooth he is. And because Bogaerts hadn't come on the last couple of weeks defensively, so everyone's saying, well, why do you need Stephen Drew? You have Xander Bogaerts. Well, Drew's a notch up defensively. Offensively, he walked. He looked okay. I mean, he has the glasses now, which which is something that he didn't have last year. I think that is we have to wait to see how his offense really produces in the next few days and how he looks there. And we're on to Kendrys Morales. Like you said, they need a bat. I just don't see the fit for Morales. You have Ortiz at DH, and then you have Napoli coming back at first base on Sunday. So why the bat, why the offense would be welcome, I just don't see a fit there.
Yeah, Rob, with your hitting, Brock Holt has kind of came out of nowhere. And for anyone outside of Boston, who is that guy?
He's the shortest first baseman that you'll ever see. And he just started playing first base the last couple of days. Mike Carp has fractured his foot, and Napoli was on the DL. They needed to keep Holt in the lineup, and they moved Bogarts over to third. So they wanted to keep this guy in the lineup because he had been so good. And the guy, what he was a guy who came over in the Joel Hanrahan trade, really wasn't thought much of, bounced up and down between Pawtucket last year, was down in Pawtucket this year, but every time he plays, he's an energy guy who gets on base, who produces, who does a lot of good things right. And, I think that he's a guy that you would love to have on your team. I just don't know if he's a guy that you say, all right, there's our third baseman, or there's our first baseman, and don't worry about it. He's a good guy to have on the team. They've caught lightning in the bottle, but, we have to pump the brakes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Bradford of WEEI joins us on Baseball Central. It is Jeff Blair and Kevin Barker. We're brought to you by Home Hardware. Your colleague at WEEI, Alex Spear, has a terrific article on the site right now about John Farrell, talking about how different this season has gone for the Red Sox so far. A number of interesting points. Alex pointing out, as you have in the past and other people have, that last year's Red Sox lineup was really complimentary. It was almost as complimentary as an Oakland Athletics lineup. And there was a certain amount of stability 1 through 5. Monday, the Red Sox used their 49th lineup in 57 games. Big difference compared to last year. Talk to me a little bit about whether or not John Farrell has had to change his managing style that much because of the injuries, and how has he changed it?
I think he has. Absolutely. And you look at what they had last year. You talk about the complementary pieces in that lineup, but they knew where those complementary pieces fit. They knew they could put a Nava here, the top of the order, and then maybe have them down the bottom of the order. They knew if they had a certain type of pitcher, they knew what lineup they were going to put out there. This year, that hasn't been the case. They've been all over the place, starting with center field at the beginning of the year with Sizemore there. They moved him out of there. They put Bradley there. Nava doesn't work out, so you don't have that option to lean on where he can move up and down the lineup. They don't have a leadoff hitter. And then you get to how John Farrell approaches the game, which is, you guys know he liked to be aggressive. And I think that's the heat he took in Toronto, right? He got a lot of guys thrown out. But last year, the stolen base percentage was off the charts. But you can't even be aggressive with this team because there's no speed on the team. So that's out the window for him. And in terms of bunting, all of a sudden he wants to bunt sometimes because there's not the production offensively. So I think that, to Alex Spear's point in his article, they have had to figure things out as they've gone along here. And maybe with Drew here, they get a little bit closer, but it's nowhere near what it was last year.